Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Manchetti.
Our headlines today. Popular holiday destinations like Ibiza, Mallorca and Barbados are added to the UK's green watch list, but the government warns it could change at short notice.
With coronavirus cases rising in the UK, we'll ask how welcome will British tourists be?
And there is frustration from the travel industry. They say the changes do not go far enough. More countries, they say, could have been included.
Any adult in England can get a vaccine without an appointment this weekend at walk-in centres across the country.
And from video calls to ordering a drink in the pub, we meet the older generation getting to grips with a world more reliant on the internet than ever.
Good morning. Do not underestimate us. That's the message from the Welsh team, now in Amsterdam, getting ready to take on Denmark tomorrow in the first match of the Euro 2020 knockout phase.
And whilst it's a brighter day for parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, it's wetter for England and Wales, and for some of you, a good 10 degrees cooler than yesterday. I'll have the full forecast here on Breakfast.
Good morning. It's Friday, the 25th of June. Our top story this morning. UK residents can visit the Balearic Islands, Malta and Madeira from Wednesday of next week with no requirement to quarantine on return.
They're among 16 places which have been added to the government's green list. But travel industry leaders say that the announcement isn't enough to save them from another missed summer. Our transport correspondent Caroline Davies has more.
No roar of the engines, silent and static. Yesterday, Gatwick Airport had 69 passenger flights. This time of year, pre-pandemic, they would have had between 800 and 900. As the school holidays inch closer, the green list is increasingly critical for the industry. But yesterday's announcement is good news for some. After over a month of hoping, Malta is one of the countries that will go green from next Wednesday. Bermuda and Barbados will also go green, but all of the new additions apart from Malta are on the green watch list, meaning that the government is warning that they are at risk of going to amber. The red list is also getting longer, with 6 additions, including Tunisia and Uganda. The green list does not go far enough for the industry.
We're delighted that the Balearics and Malta and Madeira have been put onto the green list, but it is disappointing that, the government still don't seem to be following the data and the science, because many more destinations should have been put onto the green list, and we would encourage, the safe and sustainable opening of travel to really start to ramp up now.
The UK travel industry is desperate to see more people setting off on trips. But it's not just about the UK's green list. It's also about which countries will let UK visitors in. Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel said yesterday that she wants to see the EU having a more unified approach on travel rules to stop the spread of the Delta variant. She's urged other countries to impose quarantine, as Germany has done, on UK arrivals. But what about fully vaccinated travellers? The UK government did say that it was looking at removing quarantine for them, but not until later in the summer.
We see that there is a case for double vaccination, fully vaccinated, meaning that you perhaps don't have to quarantine. So we can take those countries in the amber list and allow people to come back without having to do the quarantine that you'd have to do for amber, but not yet, partly because, of course, not everybody has been offered a vaccine yet. And secondly, because the scientists are still working on the implications. So there are a number of different questions which still need to be answered.
It won't come soon enough for Sarah and Peter, who live in America. Both are fully vaccinated and due to travel in a few weeks. Sarah hasn't seen her parents in 2 years.
We're not talking about holidays. It's not a holiday we want to do. I want to see my family, my parents. And it's the same for so many people around the world.
I really don't see any reason why it can't happen now with a negative test to fly and fully vaccinated. Why not?
The new list opens up some much longed-for destinations, but international travel is yet to take off, and the warnings are that this summer will be far from smooth. Caroline Davies, BBC News.
So one of the places which has been added to the green watch list is Ibiza. Our Europe correspondent Anne Holligan sent this report from the island.
Yay! This was the news they'd been waiting for months.
Going green, going green, going green.
British tourists usually make up about 1 million of the 4 million foreign visitors to these Mediterranean bars every year.
Absolutely ecstatic. I can't even tell you how important this is to us as a tourism industry in Ibiza. It's massive. We've been waiting for the Brits to arrive, to be honest. Listen, all tourism good, but everyone knows in any resort around the world that the British spend the most money. It's fact.
It's the music that fuels and feeds this island. COVID rules mean these iconic venues that usually have queues around the block are still shut.
You know, you've got, these huge, enormous clubs with hundreds and hundreds of staff in each, from the cleaners to the bartenders to, the waiters and the DJs, and they're all out of work, so.
A pilot's taking place tomorrow to see whether it's safe to let these places reopen. Even then, for now, dancing will only be allowed outside. It's a delicate and diplomatic balancing act, the desire to allow British tourists to return while keeping new variants of the virus at bay. They say it's now or never to keep this vital island economy afloat, not just for the tourists, but those whose livelihoods depend on them. Anna Holligan, BBC News, Ibiza.
Let's get more now from our political correspondent, Ben Wright. Ben, good morning to you. So there's going to be lots of political reaction to this, isn't there, this latest travel update? And, of course, the introduction of the Green Watch List, which basically gives the government some leeway to potentially change holiday return plans.
It does, and doesn't obviously then give much clarity to potential flight bookers who want some certainty that they're going to be able to return and not self-isolate when they come back to England. And if countries are on that green watch list, that guarantee is not there, and only Malta really gets that exemption at the moment. The political reaction is starting to come in. Labour said it welcomed a limited expansion of the green list if the evidence is there to back it up, but says that the amber list, the middle one, should be scrapped because it's causing so much confusion. And I'm sure we'll get more political reaction as the morning unfolds.
Indeed. Well, when it comes to amber list countries, there could be, and it's a big could, possible change to the way people behave when they return from amber list countries if they've received both their jabs.
Yeah, that's right. Grant Shapps said yesterday in a tweet that the government was planning to get rid of the amber list regulations completely in terms of returning people to the UK who have had both vaccinations. They know the frustration people feel at the moment, not just people wanting to go on holiday, but many people who haven't seen their friends and family in Europe, in America, and other places over the last 18 months or so, and that they just want to be able to go and come back without self-isolating on their return if they have had both vaccinations, if they've been double jabbed. Now, I understand that the plans for this will come out within about a month, so perhaps the end of July, beginning of August, the government will get rid of that requirement to self-isolate for 10 days if a country's on the amber list. But that detail is not going to, I think, come in time for people who plan to get to Europe within the next sort of 4 or 5 weeks, or even into the summer holiday. So I think there remains a huge uncertainty over summer travel plans. That is clear, despite these tweaks to the lists that were announced last night.
Ben, thanks so much. You were mentioning Grant Shapps there. Of course, we're going to be talking to him, the Transport Secretary, at 7:30. So perhaps you have some questions about your holiday plans or confusion that we can put to him. 7:30. You can get in touch with us the usual way via email, bbcbreakfast@bbc.co.uk, and of course you can tweet us as well.
Yes, you're probably aware those announcements actually formally were made by the government quite late yesterday evening. So maybe only this morning that you're sort of digesting and thinking how that might work in practice for you, your family, your friends, and what you're going to do. So if you've got any thoughts on that and you want to run things past the Transport Secretary, we're talking to him. We can try and help you with some of those thoughts. If you're thinking it, almost certainly someone else is. That's how it works usually.
6:09. Other news to bring you. Any adult in England will be able to be vaccinated against coronavirus this weekend with no need to book an appointment.
Football stadia, theatres, supermarket car parks are among the hundreds of venues being turned into temporary vaccine centres, as Matt Graveling now reports.
Whether you got it at a cathedral or a mosque, a stadium or racecourse, 44 million of us have now had at least one dose of the vaccine. But with 17% of the population still unprotected, the NHS is now putting even more effort into the final furlong.
We want as many people as possible to get vaccinated ahead of July the 19th. So this weekend, we're opening hundreds of pop-up walk-in centres where you can just turn up, you don't need to book, and grab a jab.
More than 1 million appointments were made in just 2 days when over 18s became eligible last week. It's hoped the surge will continue this weekend, with venues like Edgbaston Cricket Ground and Arsenal's Emirates Stadium becoming huge pop-up centres to help supply demand.
We've noticed that there are particular areas of our communities that we're really working with to try and deliver what we're calling a hyper-local response, literally going door to door to understand the reasons that people are being more hesitant about taking up the vaccine.
The government hope by the 19th of July, all adults will have had their first jab, a figure currently at 83%. Second jabs are also available at some centres this weekend, but if you're over 40, it must have been at least 8 weeks since your first. Or, if you're under 40, there must be a 12-week gap.
We know vaccines are very safe and highly effective, and also effective against the new Delta variant that we're seeing in the country. The more people who get vaccinated, the safer we will all be, and of course the freer we will all be.
And it's this Delta variant that's believed to be behind the recent climb in COVID cases, now at almost 17,000 a day. A number the government is desperate to drive down before they open up. Matt Graveling, BBC News.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.